First of all, having too much of a sense of control over the process, being so worried about doing it right or what might come out. Also, judging it, judging the feelings that come, having some comments that you think that you have to make about those feelings. And also maybe getting into some dialogue rather than just listening and reflecting back what you're hearing yourself say, is to introduce another character and go back and forth and have either a debate or a discussion or some advice giving or something like that. And then we see that they start discovering that there are some better ways of just getting into the flow of it, especially accepting the feelings and writing it out. Just get going and start writing. And then there start becoming some of the benefits becoming evident. Now this takes some practice. This is one of the things that we're learning. But the benefits are, for example, greater clarity about one's feelings, an expanded sense of oneself as more of us is coming into an awareness, a calmness, kind of relaxing, going from perhaps feeling agitated to calm and more confident. And then also getting in touch with some higher order of awareness, however you might wish to label that, some feeling of being in touch with a level of consciousness that's somehow either wiser or a greater quality of consciousness or something of that sort. So now let's go back and we'll talk to the students some more after several months have passed and they've been practicing this quite a bit. And we'll see what they have to say about the process now. So let's go back now and we'll pay them another visit and see what they have to say.
Well, I think I've tried just about every modality that you could imagine. I've first initially started by talking to myself.
Out loud?
Out loud.
Uh-huh.
Which was kind of interesting, and I wrote a little bit about that. But lately I've kind of fallen into writing. And like some people tape, I tried tapes, and you don't always have a tape recorder around when you want to do this.
Right.
So a piece of paper and a pencil is rather handy.
Mm-hmm.
So what I found is that worked well for me. The other advantage is that I can always go back a couple of paragraphs and go, wait a minute, I'm missing out here, and I can scan back and bring myself back to a point that I feel that I really should have gone into a little bit more. I have a tendency to run away from the subject sometimes. Sometimes things are a little bit too sensitive, so I try to avoid them. But with yourself, when you're talking to yourself, you can't avoid them, so you have an opportunity then to go back.
Because you're sincere about the process, apparently,
you
do go back and do this.
You have to stay engaged.
My experience of it has been when I first began that it was very difficult. I couldn't get the feel of it. I showed you a sample and it was wooden. It was the exact repeating or replica of what the me had said reflected by the self. It was very
sort of a rote
structured, without any like movement or feeling about it. And as I've learned how to do it, it's taken the practice of learning how to do it, and now I'm feeling like it's much more effective. I'm getting more effect out of it.
Well, it's interesting, and I want to see if we can bring some of this out, what you've said, that you notice that one of the things that you're getting out of it is answers.
Yes.
And yet it's not like your listener is telling you stuff, but somehow in the way it reflects back what it's hearing you say, he's talking about that extra 5% somehow. It's giving you something a little bit more. It's almost the image that was coming to me is kind of like reflecting a little deeper from the mirror than the surface of what you presented, yet it was really you, but it's going a little deeper than what you realized you were saying. I don't know exactly, but it was as if you were getting something more, and that was helping to clarify it for you. And at the same time, you seem to also indicate that this had taken practice, that this over time you got better at this. When you first started, it was kind of a carbon copy, repeat back, like a parrot, like you're just hearing a tape recording of your voice coming back and you weren't really getting anything.
Mm-hmm.
And yet now there's this extra something that's really giving you a lot. You talk about insights. How do you think that that's possible, that this would happen from simply repeating back to yourself what you just heard yourself say?
Well, I'm trying to sit here and imagine whether or not this could happen with yourself in any other mode other than having to listen and talk and respond to your listening. And I'm not really sure that it would, because even though I meditate and I have experiences there, they're somewhat different than a different quality than what is happening here. I think that what happens for me is that when I'm talking, I just get so involved in the process that I forget, and I don't try to hold back and put the brakes on, and then the other part will be hearing and will reflect a feeling back that a real interesting thing for me about this is I really feel deeply about things and thought that that I am a deep feeler, but this whole reflective thing has kind of taught me that I'm really much more between the ears than I thought I was. And some of the
Like in your head, you mean, kind of intellectual?
Intellectualizing things a lot, and talking about the issues and the ins and the outs, and but not really being able to express the feeling. I think I feel the feeling, but really letting that be expressed is something that I really need to do. And this has given me an opportunity to do that.
How does that work? Because when you hear yourself say what you say, you're aware of the feeling that you're feeling, and you label it when you're reflecting back? Okay.
Right.
So the treating it, quote, just as an assignment, unquote, probably wouldn't work. You have to then be willing to meet yourself somehow. Is that right?
The purpose for taking the class is to learn. The other thing that I found is that the reason for any experience to happen in anyone's life is to learn from it. And any experience that I've had through this process, I can continue to focus on those experiences and amplify those experiences so that I learn even more. So the point is that if things happen to us, we can't tend to either run away from them or engage in them, and this is one way to increase the engagement of the processes. So it helps to live life.
By getting the better feel for reflecting from I do me and myself, my capital S self, me as self. And the self reflecting but expanding, like you said that first night, the 105%, expanding a little further on what I've just said, and it's like, and I found myself getting answers, not from my higher self, but through its reflecting to me what it was hearing me saying, that's saying, quit worrying. And it didn't say that, but it's like that was the upshot of it, was, and you felt such and such.
So it's just really nice to sit down with myself and not be concerned about, am I really doing this right? What someone is going to think about what I'm doing, and to just really kind of relax and see where you're going to go and where it's going to take you and what's going to come up. And I guess the really neat thing is it's really taken me on some neat trips and have gotten some real deep insights into issues and things that really have been a part of my life for years. So it's been a real helpful and neat experience.